Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she has to raise her own baby? My 19-year-old college-age sister went to a party over New Year's Eve and got pregnant by a one-night stand. She doesn't know who he is, and for some reason she first thought that my parents would watch her baby while she finished college. My mom is often sick with Lyme disease, so they said no. Recently, over spring break, my sister told me I need to baby-proof the house. She told me not ask because my wife works from home so she could watch her baby while she finishes college. I told her my wife and I chose to be child-free, and my wife often does have to travel for work last minute. It's not a little last-minute travel. It could be to San Francisco, Austin, Chicago, Toronto, or Los Angeles in hours' notice. My sister got mad saying my wife could take the baby for her, or I could watch her baby then, or our parents could. My sister got extremely upset that no one is helping her out and it's too late to look for other options now. Well, I told my sister she should have never expected other people to raise her baby, and she needs to find other options and rethink going to a university out of state, and live with mom and dad for extra support. My sister said everyone is trying to crush her dreams, and maybe she should give her baby up for adoption. I told her maybe that's not such a bad idea, and it might be what is best for her and the baby. She now thinks I'm the worst brother in the world, but my wife and I decided to not have children, so we shouldn't be forced to raise my sister's baby. Now for the top comments. Not stay home. Your sister made a very adult decision to have a one-night stand and now has to live with the consequences. She either chooses to sacrifice for her baby or chooses to give the baby up. It doesn't sound like she's ready to be a mom, in my opinion. She also made a very non-adult decision to never use protection at any point, including the day after pill. Not stay home. It is her baby, so it is her responsibility. The thing about adopting the child out is an attempt at blackmailing you. Don't fall for it, even if she is serious about it. With a mom that irresponsible, the kid would be better off if she sucked it up and allowed a child to be adopted by someone with the time and resources to raise a baby. As for Opie, not his circus, not his monkeys. Not stay home. Your sister is 19 years old and had a fantasy in her head that having a baby would not change her life because everyone would help while she went out of state for school. Well, she's going to be a mother, and it's time for her to accept the reality that her fantasy of finishing school while her family cared for and raised her infant was just a fantasy. It's like she doesn't understand the consequences of having intercourse. Too many people are way too chill with it to the point unwanted children are thrown around all the time. Yeah, I get it. Be more positive about it, but that should come with the responsibilities. Next story. Am I the a-hole for calling my stepchildren my kids and upsetting my wife? I married my wife last year, after 4 years of dating, and we mixed our families. Her two boys, Dylan and Tyler, 16 and 11 now, and my girl Sam, 18 now. Our children accommodated to the idea of living together pretty well. Dylan and Ty's father and my wife got divorced when Tyler was born, and they agreed he would only have visitation rights. Around 2 or 3 years ago, Tyler called me dad while we were having dinner, and that night my wife asked me to correct her children when they call me dad, out of respect for their actual father. I found it weird, but I agreed to because in the end they're her children, although I never ended up doing it. This week, Dylan had a football match and Tyler a piano lesson, which my wife usually picks them up after. This time both she and I didn't have to work, so I suggested picking them up together. Dylan practically jumped to our car and then we all went to pick up Tyler, and since I was there, I decided to meet his piano teacher too. When she met my wife, Dylan, and me, she greeted us and asked me if I was the kid's dad. I sincerely forgot about that promise I made years ago and said I indeed was their father. My wife almost instantly corrected me with stepfather, and then Dylan said out loud, "Mom?" The return home was awkward, and when we arrived, she called me out for breaking the promise we had by saying I'm the kid's dad. To make it worse, this morning I noticed the kids are acting distant towards their mother, and they deliberately are calling me dad whenever she's around. I feel guilty because it's the first time there has been such tension between them and it's my fault. Am I the a-hole for calling them my kids? Your wife is working toward an estranged relationship with her boys. We can parent as much as we want, but we will never control our kids' feelings. She has assigned herself way too much power and her kids too little autonomy. We aren't talking about 6-year-olds. You didn't do anything other than step up to the place that another man abandoned. Not stay home. The whole goal of step-parenting is to have this kind of relationship. How can Opie's wife be so mad about something so many people would dream of having? Not stay home. She's upset because you are a father to her kids and love them and they love you back? I could understand their dad being upset, but not her. And honestly, not even him. If he has visitation, you live with them. He doesn't even visit them, so I actually would get mad if he protested. Haha. Not stay home. I would understand if he was still in the picture, but I don't understand why your wife would want them to call you stepdad out of respect for an absent father. He's done nothing to earn it, and nothing to earn the title of dad. On the other hand, clearly you have. Not stay home. If the kids think of you as dad, then you are dad. Dad is not limited to biological father. Why can't the kids have 2 dads? Also, it should be seen as the highest of compliments. Opie's wife should be thankful that her sons see and feel that way about their stepfather. It definitely isn't always the case. I know, right? You read/hear so many stories of dysfunctional blended families. It's so heartwarming they're calling Opie dad by their own choice. A weird reaction by the mom. Perhaps unresolved emotions around a boy's bio dad abandoning them? This is one case that counseling might make a positive difference. The whole family or just Opie and his wife. Suggesting it for only his wife probably wouldn't go over well. Lol. Good luck, Opie. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for threatening my sister-in-law to kick her out over an argument? Little backstory before going to the main thing. I, 27 male, have a brother, 31 male, who has a wife, 29, and son, 7. Our parents were divorced, so after their passing, I inherited everything from my mother and also half from father, but my brother also inherited the remaining half from my father. Shortly after inheriting my mother's house, I was quickly approached by one guy who wanted to buy the house. He already made an offer to my mother, but she didn't want to sell because she was living there and didn't want to leave. It's a 4-story house. That is a huge AF. Still had some rooms unfinished, and I didn't really want to live there. So I cashed out and bought a studio apartment in the city where I was working. My brother was renting a place in the very same city. Forward to the recent times, my brother is an engineer and had a solid job, until the beginning of 2020 where he got fired. Since then, he still hasn't found a job in his field. He started eating through his savings and asked me if I wanted to buy his half of the house/property. Dad's house is smaller but way nicer. Those last years of his life, he invested lots of money into the house and made a pool outside. I wanted to buy it off from him even before he offered it and planned to pay more than what he asked me. So I obviously accepted since it was a great deal and I somewhat helped him. Summer 2021. I guess my brother was running low on cash because he said that he can't afford the rent anymore. So he asked me if he could move in Dad's house. I wasn't using it that much, so I let him move in. 2022. I've been staying at Dad's house for the past month or so because I have some people working on demolishing some old buildings on the property. I get up early every day so I can be with the workers. I noticed that my nephew never has a breakfast before going to school, and also his parents never pack him anything. I asked him if he eats anything at school, and he said that he eats an empty croissant that he gets from the shop. Felt bad, so I started making him a breakfast and packing him a sandwich for school, along with some snacks and a drink. I've been doing it for the past 2 weeks. Yesterday, his mother saw him eating what I packed for him, and she said, "This explains why nephew wasn't hungry after school," and left the kitchen after giving me this weird look. After nephew left, she came back and lashed out at me, saying that he'll get fat, that I shouldn't give him junk food, that I made her bad in her son's eyes, and that I don't have her permission to do it. I told her that she's neglecting him, and that I will only stop it once she starts doing it. She then screamed at me, called me names, and told me to go back to my crap hole in my city. At this point, I was fuming, so I threatened her that I will kick them all out if she doesn't get her act together. Neighbor asked what was all this screaming about, and after I told him, he said that I'm not a parent and that I should stay out of it. Not stay home. You certainly should not stay out of it. I would speak to brother about it. A child should have 3 meals a day at least. Sister-in-law has probably only noticed because he is not starving by the evening meal. Speak to brother. If they don't change, call CPS. CPS will visit and educate them. If they still refuse, they will act in the best interest of the child. OP mentions in later comments that the child is only in school until noon. So the croissant is just for breakfast and he and his brother were raised the same way, and that it is normal in their culture. Granted, one croissant isn't enough for the kid and he needs to eat lunch before mom is home at 2. But it's not like America where the school has a lunchtime. I never said that it was normal. Pretty sure I was the only one in class eating an empty bun. English is not my first language. I don't know the word for it, but it was something similar to a hot dog bun/croissant. I don't think that we were poor back then. Everyone was working, and at the time both grandparents were alive and working as well. So I guess my parents were cheap and didn't care. That must be where your brother gets the idea that this is okay. But you didn't overstep. You fed their child, and from the way it's worded, I don't think you even complained to them about the cost/time of it. They should have been thankful. Why is she neglecting her child? Does sister-in-law have a job? Do they pay rent? You have every right to kick them out, but I'm wondering who will hurt most. Sounds like your nephew will be worse off. Not stay hold, but think about your next move carefully. She does. They don't pay rent, only bills. They're living rent-free in your house? What does your brother do all day? Because it's clearly not making his son breakfast for dinner. I wanted to write it, but I was over the character limit. My brother works in construction now as a laborer for his friend. He gets up around 5 a.m. But once he is back, he eats, takes a shower, and goes straight to bed. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that her husband should be ashamed of himself? My sister's husband is always the one to always lecture everyone around him about manners and proper behavior, but he never does those things himself. He is very pretentious, and while my sister knows it, she enables him. Our mother, who's a 62-year-old woman, is working 12-hour shifts every day and comes home tired every afternoon. She works 5 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon and only has 1 day off. My sister gave birth to her baby 2 months ago and she is on maternity leave right now. Her husband is also working a 9-to-5 job. My sister has had to go to the doctor's appointments many times in the past few days, and she would leave the kid to her husband. But after the first time, her husband complained that he can't deal with the baby alone, so she should take the kid to our mother. That happened for 4 times straight, and my mother has expressed to my sister how tired she is and that she also needs a break. My mother ends up saying yes every time because she adores her grandchild and is heartbroken that my sister's husband doesn't do his job as a father. But my mom is indeed very tired. My sister completely ignores our mom's exhaustion and keeps bringing the baby instead of dealing with her husband. The last time this happened was 2 days ago. My mom had just come back from work and she was sleeping. Right when she fell asleep, my sister calls her and tells her she's gonna drop the baby by our house because she's got another doctor's appointment. My mom started sobbing and saying how nobody thinks about her and her own exhaustion. I told my mom it's fine and that I'll care for the baby and she can sleep. For anyone wondering, I'm working a part-time job as a college student while I'm also studying for college. So it's not like I have plenty of free time to help out more. I decided to sacrifice my own time that day because I felt bad for my mom. Then my sister called me and thanked me, but I told her that I appreciate her being thankful, but at the same time this can't keep happening. I asked her why her husband couldn't keep the kid, and she said that he was tired from work and wanted to sleep, so he told her to take the baby to our mom. I told my sister that her husband should be ashamed of himself, and that he has a lot of nerve to pull the tired card when he is the parent, and doesn't respect the fact that our mom, who's a 62-year-old woman, is working 12 hours and can't even get half an hour of sleep because he refuses to be a parent. My sister got really mad at me and told me to never speak of her husband like that again. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. Your sister is an a-hole and her husband is a mega worthless a-hole. You are not. Like, cry me a river that you're tired, dude. Tough luck. Your kid comes first. The fact that your sister has no problem with that is a big issue. All parents are tired. You can't just not be a parent anymore because you're tired. Get the heck over it. Rant over. This The sister has two options: leave the baby with her husband or take the baby to her appointments. For 8 years, my husband was gone for 12-hour days, but I had to take my kids with me to all my appointments. I think I asked my mom 3 times for help during those 8 years. She came once when I had to go to the urgent care. The other 2 times she said she couldn't, so I had to take them with me. I took a newborn with me to therapy. I took 3 kids with me to get steroid shots in the butt. I just didn't have a choice. So the sister can do one of those things, but she can't keep burdening her mom. Not stay home. Her husband is a jackass and somebody should talk to him that way. His mother apparently didn't raise him right. His mother is a whole other story. She wore black to their wedding because she was mourning that she was losing her son to my sister. She also expects my sister to be a full-time housewife but still maintain her job. Her son is her baby. How about he has his mom take care of the baby? See, he doesn't want to exhaust her. Yes, I know. Not stay home. Your sister got mad because she knows you're right. She's likely in denial that she just had a baby with someone who is showing little to no interest in actually parenting. And realizing that other people are noticing this as well makes it harder to maintain that denial. My girlfriend, 23 female, is threatening to break up with me over a prank that I, 24 male, pulled on her and her family. Plus 10 updates. Original post. This past weekend was the big camping trip that my girlfriend would be taking with her family. It would consist of her parents, her younger sister, her aunt and uncle, and her 3 cousins. It was a big family trip that had been planned for cooler weather. My girlfriend told me all about where they would be camping, and I decided to take advantage of that knowledge. I visited my girlfriend's house to say goodbye to her and wish her a fun trip. When they all took off in their cars, I got in my car and drove to the campsite where they would be staying. I know the area pretty well, and I was able to find a spot to hide my car from view. I was also able to navigate the woods and keep an eye on them while remaining hidden. When it came nighttime, I put on a Chewbacca costume and ruffled it up a little to make it look wild and untamed. While the family was gathered around the campfire, I started to rustle the bushes. The family noticed, but they didn't think much of it. Then I started to make growling noises. The family was getting noticeably freaked out, and then my girlfriend's uncle started to walk toward where I was hiding. As soon as he got close enough, I jumped out from behind the bushes and started making roaring noises while running around acting like Bigfoot. I shook their tents, threw lawn chairs around, and chased after some of the cousins. I heard my girlfriend's dad yell, "Get the gun," and that's when I knew I had to end the prank. I took off the costume, revealed myself, and the entire family was pissed. Long story short, I got yelled at by almost all of her family, and the noise attracted the campsite manager, who kicked me out after hearing what happened. Today, I heard back from my girlfriend for the first time since the prank, and she said that she's seriously considering breaking up with me. She just said that she needs some time to think and that she'll let me know when she's made her decision. Now I'm just left wondering what to do. I'm thinking that I need to pull off a major apology, and I need some advice on what to say to save this relationship. Since all OP got in the comments were some trashing, let's just read the updates directly. First update. I'm honestly really embarrassed and humiliated about this update. I almost considered not even posting it, but I feel the need to vent and express my frustrations in some way, so here it is. I really hope you don't think too badly of me and understand what I'm going through after last night. Last night, my girlfriend's family was holding a barbecue in their backyard, and my girlfriend was able to talk her dad into inviting me. He was originally against the idea of me coming, but he was willing to let me come, so long as the first thing I did was offer a genuine apology for the prank that I pulled on all of them. I arrived in their backyard, and everyone I had pranked at the campsite was sitting at a table and clearly waiting for me to arrive. I sat down next to my girlfriend and began my apology. I stated that my prank was ill-timed, immature, and thoughtless, and I apologized for ruining their camping trip that they had apparently been planning for some time. I tried to make it as genuine and sincere as possible, and when I was done, I waited for some type of response. There was a really long, awkward silence as the whole family just stared at me. Then the uncle whispered something in the dad's ear, and they both burst out laughing, but I couldn't make out what he said. The dad then said that he didn't accept my apology and told me to leave. My initial response was a very loud, "What the f***?" And that made things worse. My girlfriend's dad kept telling me to leave, and I lost my temper. I swiped an empty plastic cup off the table and said to the family, "Fine, F all of you," while flipping them off with both middle fingers. As I was leaving the backyard, my girlfriend caught up to me and said that she was breaking up with me. She said I was too immature and impulsive and said she wants me to leave her and her family alone. I tried apologizing to her profusely. I kept saying, "Babe, I'm sorry. Just give me another chance, and I promise I'll be good. I promise." I kept saying this over and over, but she said that she's given me millions of chances and that she can't fix me. She then walked off, and I did something that made things even worse. I yelled at her, called her a B, and then started kicking and punching their wooden fence that separates the front and backyard. I knocked down part of the fence and then I left. All of that happened last night, and I feel like crap. Part of me wants to just give up on her and move on, but I also want to prove to her that I'm capable of changing. I want to promise her no more pranks, and that I'll work on controlling my temper. What do you think I should do? Second update. Long story short, I got in a fight with my girlfriend and her family last night. She's now my ex-girlfriend, and I lashed out and broke down part of their wooden fence that separates the backyard and front yard. Her father hasn't contacted me about it yet, but I'm worried that he's going to come after me eventually. What kind of trouble can I get in? Third update. I'd rather not go into detail on this post, but the reason for the breakup is on my profile and can be read there in another post. Simply put, I can't stop thinking about my ex-girlfriend. I can barely eat, sleep, or do anything that used to make me happy. Last night, I watched my first ever hockey game, and I had been excited about that a few months ago, but now I don't even care. I spent the whole game thinking about my ex and how she broke up with me. She's all I think about right now, and I feel like putting in one last effort to make her see that I'm a better man. What should I say to her? What can I do to get her to come back to me? Fourth update. For those who may or may not know, my girlfriend broke up with me because I pranked her and her family by dressing up as Bigfoot and ruining their camping trip. But I think that since some time has passed, my girlfriend might be in a cooler headspace, and I was thinking of trying to win her back in a clever little way that involves the Bigfoot theme. My idea is to dress up as Bigfoot again, but not to scare anyone. I'm going to dress up, go into her backyard with an old stereo CD player that still works, and play Sorry by Buckcherry. I'll play it loud enough for her to hear, and I'm hoping she'll accept it and see it as a cute apology. I know it sounds a little cliche, the whole stereo outside the window thing, but I'm hoping that the Bigfoot costume might be a new little twist on it, and it'll be my way of apologizing for the Bigfoot prank. What do you think? Fifth update. After reading through some of the responses from yesterday, I decided to just go for it and get it over with. I dressed up in the ruffled-up Chewbacca costume, grabbed the stereo, and walked over to my girlfriend's house at nighttime. We live in the same neighborhood, and there's a shortcut through a little stretch of woods that I take from my place to hers, and that's the route I took last night. I climbed into their backyard and stood in their grass, holding up the stereo while playing the song that I had intended, Sorry by Buckcherry. The problem is that the stereo was an old piece of crap that I dug up from my basement, and the volume wasn't loud at all. It sounded muffled, and I didn't want to risk moving closer to their house in case I was seen. But I wanted something to come from the night, so I set down the stereo and peered into the window that I knew led to my girlfriend's room. My girlfriend was just playing with her phone on her bed, and I just stared into her room for a little while. I guess I was caught up in staring at her since I hadn't seen her in a few weeks, and I didn't realize that I had been staring in there for a long time. I turned to leave, but I saw one of her neighbors out on their porch, looking directly at me, and they were on their phone. My first thought was that they were probably calling the police, and I panicked. I did something really stupid and tried to go into my girlfriend's house by pulling at their back green door, but her mom saw me trying to get in, and she screamed. I then ran back toward the woods and tried to pick up the stereo, but I really hurt my back while bending over, so I just left it in their backyard. The back pain was also shooting down my left leg, and I had to limp away from the house and through the woods back to my house, cussing at myself over how stupid my plan was. The worst part is that this morning, my girlfriend called me and left a message on my phone. She said that she knows it was me at her house and that she's only giving me one final warning before she talks to the police about harassment charges, as well as a restraining order. She says that she's never getting back together with me and told me to move on. Now I'm really depressed, which is how I've been feeling these past few weeks. I'm physically hurting from my back and leg pain, and I'm emotionally hurting from my girlfriend's words. I'm just really upset and angry. What should I do? 6th update. My ex-girlfriend left me a message on my phone threatening me with a restraining order. It's just a threat at this point, but I still want to know what happens to my record if she were to file one against me. Will it give me a criminal record and officially list me as a stalker? Is it something that appears in a background check? I just want to know how this will affect things like me getting a job or something like that. Would this affect me nationally or just in my hometown of Denver? 7th update OP posted on legal advice. I won't go into detail, but I left a stereo of mine at my ex-girlfriend's house, and this morning I got a text from her dad. It was a picture of the completely destroyed stereo next to a baseball bat, and the message read, "That's your head if you come near my house again." I want to know if I can actually take action against him for this. He destroyed my stereo and threatened to bash in my head with a baseball bat. What actions can I take? This is all taking place in Denver, Colorado. 8th update. I've spent the past few weeks thinking about how I can possibly get back together with my ex-girlfriend. I've decided to just move on. She doesn't ever want to get back with me, and I've caused enough trouble with her family as a whole. I need to get over her, and I don't know how. My older brother has a wedding in a few days, and it being a romantic occasion is really going to mess with me emotionally, especially since me and my ex were planning on attending together. It hurt even more to see that my ex was selling her dress and posting about it on Facebook. I can't get over the memories and all the time we've spent together, and it hurts knowing that I lost her because of my immaturity and stupidity. How do I get over her? She's literally the only thing on my mind, and it has to end. Help me out, please. 9th update. OP is back again for more legal advice. I know that most people have seen my previous posts on here regarding me and the issues with my ex-girlfriend and her father. He's already threatened me violently, and as of last night, he's called the cops on me, and now I'm awaiting a court date here in Denver, Colorado. Last night was obviously Halloween, and while I normally don't trick or treat at my age, I ended up taking my little cousin out around the neighborhood while my parents and hers were at a Halloween party. I also figured that I would wear my Chewbacca costume. Since I wanted to dress up and didn't have any other last-minute costumes, we walked around our neighborhood for a little while, and we ended up on the same block as my ex-girlfriend's house. I knew it was only an inevitability that we would cross her house, but I honestly wasn't worried about it. I figured that her dad may not even be out to see us, and all I'm doing is trick-or-treating. We ended up walking by her house, and of course, both of her parents were sitting by their garage with a bowl of candy to hand out. I tried to grab my cousin and make for the opposite direction, but it was too late. I heard my ex's dad yell, "I see you," and he clearly recognized me. I just grabbed my cousin and we made our way back to my house without looking back at my ex's house. We got home, but almost an hour later, the cops arrived and they told me that my ex's dad wants to press charges on me for stalking and harassment. I'm currently awaiting a court date, and I think this is all BS. I didn't have any premeditated plans to go near their house, nor did I have any intent with their property. I was simply trick-or-treating with my cousin, and we just happened to come across their home. The dad simply acts as if he's king of the block and can dictate who walks in the area. What can I do to prepare for my court case? What arguments can I make? I wasn't stalking the house last night and I wasn't planning on doing anything. I simply walked by it while trick-or-treating and the dad threw a fit. What can I do? Now for the last update. It's been a little over a month since my girlfriend broke up with me over a prank that was admittedly my fault. It was a dumb, immature move on my part, and I've accepted the consequences. That being said, I'm now in serious legal trouble over what happened a couple of nights ago on Halloween. I ended up walking by her house while taking my cousin trick-or-treating, and her dad saw me. He's now pressing charges for harassment and stalking, and I'm awaiting my court date. Last night, my ex texted me and she was clearly drunk. A lot of her texts were either gibberish or in poor grammar, but I could make out what she was communicating. Basically, she was celebrating me having charges pressed against me, and she was texting stuff like, "I hope you rot in jail and lock him up." I responded with texts of my own. I called her names like the C word and bitch, but she obviously didn't seem fazed. But simply sending her some mean texts isn't enough for me. I honestly think that she has some nerve to kick me while I'm down, while all she has to do is just stay on the sidelines while her daddy does all of the work. I've spent all day thinking about how I can get back at her over this. Part of me thinks that I should just wait until I'm done going to court, but I also want to strike back while the event is still fresh. I'm thinking of one final prank. Now for the comments. This is like reading a choose-your-own-adventure book and purposefully making the worst choices every possible chance you get. He just keeps making it worse. And every step of the way, he upped the ante in the Bigfoot costume. He chose the stupidest thing he could do at each point, then did it in the costume. This was a wild ride, but the absolute best part for me is that this dude found 3 separate occasions to wear a Chewbacca costume in a month. Got dumped, charged and slapped with a restraining order, basically got his butt handed to him, and I just know in my soul that he'll wear it again in a heartbeat. He's going to wear the Chewie costume to court. Last story, my ex wrote me an email I discovered 4 years later. I've had my Gmail since I was a sophomore in high school, so over 10 years. It recently told me that my inbox was completely full, so I went through and deleted emails, but made sure to look through and see if any were considered important. While doing this, I noticed an unopened email from my ex that was sent to me a few months after he broke up with me 4 years ago. The breakup was messy. He ended things because he was too busy for me and had to pick something to let go, which messed me up mentally. A week later, he had a new girlfriend, so if I had seen that email back then, I would have lost my mind, because it took me a long time to get over that. The email starts with him explaining his side, and that he believed the breakup was something we both wanted. He went on to say that he started talking to his girlfriend a few months before he ended things with me due to loneliness, and had no clue he'd like her, so he broke it off with me to be with her. I never knew this was the reason he ended things. He then went on asking why I didn't talk to him anymore, and was hurt I didn't reach out to him for his birthday, and why I wasn't taking this well because he thought I was okay with us breaking up. We were together for 3 years before he ended things. He ended the email asking if we could talk soon about us, and that he wanted us to be civil, and for me to accept changes, but not to forget my best friend. That part really would have messed me up if I had read that months after he ended things. Obviously, I'm not going to respond, and I have no feelings for him whatsoever, nor have any idea what he's up to, but I do find it funny he sent this email months after the breakup and I never saw it until now. I have no clue how I never even saw it, but I'm glad I never did. As far as I know, he is still with that girl. Delete it to make sure your subconscious knows it's a total irrelevance. Enjoy your life. That email is giving, I might have made a mistake, and I want to keep you on the back burner until I've made my final decision. I'm glad you didn't see it. That was a genuine gift from the universe, and also I hope he still regrets his decision. This exactly. The universe is always working for you. I am currently dealing with this back burner BS right now. It's awful. But I think my lesson is to learn how to shield myself, which in turn is the universe working for me. Just nudging me to learn the lesson and do it for myself with the information given. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my neighbor use my vintage bathtub for his therapy sessions? Original post. So, this whole situation is actually absurd, but I need outside opinions because I feel like I'm actually losing my mind. I, 28 female, live in an old Victorian house I inherited from my grandfather. Most people don't believe me when I tell them the house is mine, but my parents are not in my life. My mom died from heart health complications, and my dad was never really in the picture after elementary school. I had a really close relationship with my granddad growing up and loved visiting him in his home, so he left me the place in his will. One of the features of the house is the original clawfoot bathtub from the 1920s in the upstairs bathroom. I was originally going to look into having it removed, but kept putting it off due to the logistics of getting it out of the house and hiring people to help me. I used it out of necessity, and it may sound weird, but I eventually fell in love with it. It's spacious, and it feels luxurious, like I'm some sort of old royal or something. Lol. Over the past few years, I've researched how to care for it, and only use special cleaners, and basically treat it like an antique. Enter my next-door neighbor Dennis, 50s male. Dennis is eccentric. He's into all these weird health trends, like grounding his feet in buckets of dirt for electrical balance, or drinking filtered water taken from our local pond because it has earth nutrients. I don't think he's a heavy drug user and doesn't have an actual mental disability, but he definitely has some mental issues. Lately, he's gotten into hydrotherapy, which apparently requires him to soak in cold water for extended periods to reset his nervous system. I don't really talk with him much, but will regrettably run into him every so often, since he always sits out on his front porch or meanders around his lawn. 2 weeks ago, Dennis came over and, completely out of the blue, asked if he could use my bathtub for his hydrotherapy sessions. I thought he was joking, but no, he earnestly explained that my tub was the perfect energy conduit because it was pre-industrial revolution and untainted by modern manufacturing processes. I told him no, obviously. I don't even let guests use that tub, let alone a rando wrinkly old dude who wants to fill it with ice water and do whatever nonsense he's into. Dennis did not take this well. He said I was being selfish with community resources, and that because I inherited the house rather than buying it, I had a duty to share, since I didn't work for it. He started bringing it up every time he saw me, passive-aggressively saying things like, "Must be nice to hoard that all to yourself." Then, somehow, this got out to the neighborhood Facebook group this week, who loves drama. And now half the street thinks I'm the villain for gatekeeping my own bathtub. This is just as absurd as it sounds. The cherry on top is Dennis conveniently claims that his shower stopped working too, so he doesn't even have a place to clean himself. Not like this was a favorite pastime of his to begin with. I was trying to just avoid Dennis as much as I could and ignore the few comments from my neighbors until I ran into one of them while I was going for a walk yesterday evening. I don't really know her, but we chatted briefly, and somehow the topic of Dennis and the bathtub came up. I was expecting some sympathy for the absurdity of all this, but this woman proceeds to tear into me. Like literal verbal assault by the end of it, asking me why I was being so stupid and selfish, that I have multiple bathrooms in the house and couldn't even spare one to help this old man's health. This morning I found a literal gift-wrapped bar of soap in my mailbox. There was no note or anything, but I assumed this was her insanely petty, passive-aggressive way of telling me to shove it. I do not want this man soaking in my tub. I do not care about his nervous system reset. But now I feel like I'm losing my mind because everyone around me is acting like I'm some kind of selfish monster. I get that some of the people in the neighborhood aren't keen on me living here, but I live by myself and work and go to school all day, and I'm genuinely starting to worry that I'm going to come home someday to find Dennis reclining in my tub. Am I the a-hole? Also, for anyone wondering how Dennis knew about the tub, he's lived here forever and helped my granddad do repairs back in the day, so he's seen the house. That said, he hasn't been in it. The house, not the bathtub, to my knowledge, in at least 15 years. Obviously not the a-hole. It's not a community resource, it's your home. Community resource is so freaking crazy. I cannot. Not the a-hole. So weirdo neighbor who is now suddenly into hydrotherapy. Seems only your bathtub will work for him since it's a pre-industrial revolution. Then Dennis can go find his own antique bathtub to use. Your granddad left the home to you, not the community crackpots and weirdos. I'd let the neighbors feel so passionately. They can help Dennis get his own tub. Not the a-hole. Tell your neighbors that you will not allow a mentally ill man into your house to get naked in your bathtub. Your final answer is, hell no. And the next step will be a restraining order. Make sure they make the connection that there's a mentally ill man demanding to get naked in the house of a young woman who lives alone and do strange things in your favorite bathtub. Make sure they understand how aggressively weird this makes them look. When he posts on Facebook, reply on FB so it's on record. I have told you no, repeatedly, that I will not allow you into my home to get naked. You are not entitled to get inside my home and take your clothes off. No means no. Stop harassing me. Stop telling my neighbors to pressure me to let you in my house. I do not want a strange man in my home. Set up cameras, because his next escalation will be breaking in. He needs to be called out, and strongly. This man is making your life hell in your neighborhood. He is making a nuisance of himself, and basically slandering you in public. Collect his posts and comments pertaining to you and your home, so you have his actions documented. If you can, make it clear on that platform that this is your property, your space, and it is not up for community use. I would also ask these supporter Karens of his to consider sharing their private spaces and bathtubs with him if they're so concerned about his rights. Screw him and them. I would also consider home security and legal advice once you have his nonsense documented. Now for some update. Thank you all for the support. I was overwhelmed with over 1,000 Reddit notifications this morning and literally cried from relief scrolling through all of your comments before I got out of bed. Some helpful details. To clarify the neighborhood situation, it's a very small older community that is fairly isolated from the surrounding area. Everyone has lived here forever, and everyone is very toxic and set in their ways. They are very politically hostile to outsiders, and though I am not a strong politics person, it became very clear when I moved in that I was not one of them. This, combined with the jealousy of my inheriting the house at a relatively young age, has painted me as an outsider in their minds. This is the first actual issue I've had, but there have been mild microaggressions towards me in the past. Nothing serious, just little things to irk me that I have largely ignored. To the people saying I use them dashes too much, deal with it lol. I get a lot of flack for this from friends. I even use them when texting. Also, comments about the age of the tub sound accurate. I'm not a history buff, but this makes sense. And to anyone who was offended by me calling Dennis old, I'm sorry. He's probably in his late 50s. And while that is not super old, it is old enough compared to me to make me feel weird about inviting him into my home as practically a stranger. To anyone asking why I didn't take action earlier, I work 20+ hours per week, and I'm a non-traditional full-time student commuting over an hour to class several days a week, so I've not had the time or energy to look into a lot of the things you suggested. As for moving forward, I don't have the mental and physical capacity to care for a dog in my life right now, especially a big one, and I don't feel comfortable inviting a housemate into my home to live with me. That said, the cameras seem like a really great idea that I really should have considered when I moved in. I just didn't see the need before. I don't have loads of money to spend on a full security system, but I will at least be purchasing a camera for my front door. I am worried about confronting Dennis or escalating things in the Facebook group because I do not want things to get worse or encourage someone to do something stupid. For the time being, I will be actively avoiding him and my neighbors and seeing if anything else happens. I haven't dealt with the police in my town, but have heard that they are not super helpful, so I hesitate to bring this to their attention. I feel like telling them that someone asked to use my bathtub and someone else gave me a bar of soap is not going to be grounds for them to take me seriously. Something that has really worried me is the comments on the original post about Dennis' possible predatory behavior. While it was clear that he has been gently harassing me about it, I never even considered the fact that being naked in my home or sharing the intimacy of my bathtub may be some sort of weird fetish or kink. This may be overreacting, but now that I think about it, all the signs check out. The constant pressure, and seriously, why wouldn't he just buy his own tub? I feel naive and have a major ick, and am genuinely scared about what he might do if he actually has ill intentions. Any further input is welcome. I am still reading through all your lovely comments on the original post, and I will try to update you all if this escalates further. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling off a friend when she charged us for dinner? I hang out with a group of friends, and one of them is a rather boastful influencer. She talks non-stop about her wealth, trips, cars, boyfriends, etc. Usually, the rest of us just listen and don't really take offense because she's just rattling off about herself. Recently, this friend snagged an extremely rich boyfriend and proceeded to move into his multi-million-dollar mansion. She was so excited and posted pictures of the pool, jacuzzi, etc. She invited us to her new house and specifically said, "I want to invite all of you for dinner at my new house with my boyfriend." The rest of us accepted the invitation and came to the house. All the wealth she talked about really existed, and her boyfriend was nice. He didn't stay throughout, as he had paperwork to finish in his room. Soon, it was dinner time. We were all hungry as it was quite a long drive to the mansion, and suddenly, my friend took out her phone and said, "Okay, I'll be ordering food and drinks from a nearby mart. Tell me what you want, and I'll get it delivered here." I thought it was strange that she was ordering food only then, instead of having food already prepared for us guests by the numerous maids there. No drinks were served, but we had to order them as well. The food came, it was cold, and I just ate and didn't think much of it. The rest of the night was pretty much normal. After we left, the friend proceeded to send us a text with a detailed breakdown of the cost of the a la carte dish and drink that each of us ordered, with a firm reminder to quickly transfer her the money. The first thing that came to my mind was annoyance. She gave us the impression that she would serve us dinner at her boyfriend's multi-million-dollar mansion, but it just ended up with each of us paying for our dinner. What sort of hostess was she? I felt that her invitation was misleading. I wasn't expecting a 10-course dinner, but social convention would imply that at least some simple food and water would be served for the guests, and that guests would not be charged. We transferred her the money, and then I sarcastically texted in the group chat, "Oh wow, if I knew we were all paying for our individual meals, we could have met at a restaurant for dinner." I guess all that wealth in the house was just for show. Then I left the group chat. Since that incident, I haven't hung out much with her. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. When you are invited for dinner at someone's house, it is assumed you will be served dinner. If the host is ordering out, they should inform you prior that you have to pay for your order. And that's what I would have said in the group chat before leaving and not paid her. How did the other guests feel about it? I would pay and never talk to her again. Small cost for knowing who she really is. I would advise all my friends to do the same. I only say I would pay, so that she has zero reason to ever talk to me again. No, you owe me money texts. Just a clean break. Good luck with your new sad life. You are actually not enough of an a-hole. You can do better. Agreed. Out her to her new rich friends. If she's an influencer, out her on social media. Last story. Am I the a-hole for feeding my daughter's softball team junk at our sleepover? I, 35 female, have 3 children, all enrolled in extracurriculars. My oldest daughter, who's 13, plays softball and has for years. I live in a smaller town, so I know the other girls' parents, and we are well acquainted. I even consider a few of them friends. We take turns having big, huge sleepovers for the girls at our homes, and this weekend it was my daughter's turn. We had never discussed what we should and should not feed the girls, just allergies and such, so I didn't think there were any rules. My other child is also in sports, and I have never had complaints about this either. I've hosted these sleepovers before, just not this season yet, and there are a few mothers who are newer parents to the team. Anyway, I bought the girls pizza and breadsticks, and offered pink or regular lemonade for dinner. I also had a lot of snacks, mostly chips, but I did bake some brownies as well. The next morning, I just got a lot of Dunkin' Donuts. It's 15 girls I'm feeding, so I figured it was easiest because these types of things feed a lot of children. My children don't normally eat like this either. I was just excited for the first sleepover at our house this season. Anyway, I've gotten some complaints from the newer moms in our group chat. They said I shouldn't be loading their children up on sugar and junk food, and how their kids don't eat like that at home. I replied that it was a sleepover. It was supposed to be a fun event for the girls. So what was the big deal? That offended them. They accused me of undermining their parenting and said their daughters wouldn't be coming to my daughter's sleepovers anymore unless I decided to feed them better food. This caused an argument because, like I said, no one has ever mentioned what we should feed the children at these sleepovers, and there were never any rules. I thought it was fair game. I reiterated that it was just fun food. It was a slumber party, and a few of the other parents agreed with me. A few hours later, that mother replied in the group chat that her daughter would no longer be coming to any events at my home since I couldn't see that fun food was just a different word for junk. Then she called me a lousy mother for feeding children that and left the group chat. Am I the a-hole? Has she hosted yet? What do the other moms that have been around the block serve when it's their turn? I've heard pizza before as well, and I know one of the dads grilled hot dogs and hamburgers. I'm not sure about the rest. No, she hasn't hosted yet. When she does host, don't send your daughter, and I doubt some other girls will attend either. She will spend that time telling your daughter things that could lead to an unhealthy relationship with food. I'm gonna go with not the a-hole here. These moms never communicated any dietary restrictions to you, and as a parent, that's their responsibility if they're letting someone else look after their child for a night. And honestly, you're correct. Sleepovers are supposed to be fun. These are supposed to be bonding activities for the team, and stuff like this is supposed to be a treat. Also, you're feeding 15 children. I don't blame you for taking the easy option of pizza and chips. Maybe you shouldn't have argued with them and simply said you'd provide different options in the future for the girls, but what's done is done now. Not the a-hole. This seems like typical food for a softball party, especially when it's one household feeding the entire team. If I sent my kid to a sleepover like this is exactly how I'd expect them to eat. It's one night. It's not going to do harm. Take this from a parent who obsesses over my kids. Getting enough fruit and veggies. Sometimes eating healthy just isn't realistic given the situation. Kudos to you for being a nice mom by letting all these teenagers into your home and getting them all food. Right, like, is she supposed to spend hours in the kitchen cooking for that many kids? Pizza is classic for a softball party. Maybe she could have had a veggie tray. But let's be real. The kids won't be reaching for that. Let them have some unhealthy food sometimes. To me, that's a healthy mindset about food. It's good to have balance.